Vanessa Fontaine,
Hello, how are you?
welcome to the Talking Talent podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's very nice of you to ask me to join you.
Of course.
Yeah,
See
it's
what's
nice
happening.
to hear your voice. How are you?
It's good. Stockholm is nice because it's the coronavirus hasn't really impacted us here so much from a lockdown perspective or anything like that. So we've just been living our life as normal, but being very respectful for those who are, sort of immunocompromised.
Yeah, you got a slightly different setup over there, haven't you?
Yeah. So what's happening in London?
Well, Boris has just announced on the news at the 6 p.m. News briefing that he does that we're now from Monday next week allowed to see groups of 6 people in our gardens. Which means I'll be able to see my family because I haven't seen my family since, before it happened.
At all?
No, not at all. And my poor mum is just so desperate to see all her grandchildren, as is my dad. So, I think they'll be very relieved that they'll be able to at least come to the garden and see people.
That is, I can't even imagine how that must be.
I haven't seen my son since February.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's at uni. He's doing his dissertation at the moment. So he's in his final few days. He's in the eye of the storm. But he just felt it was better to just stay down there and work through it rather than have distractions back home. So he's at uni still.
So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, actually. Mm-hmm. How is it to be so youthful and I think so young, but also have almost adult kids?
I started young.
But how does it feel to have such a youth? Because like to me, when I see your photos with your son, it's like brother and sister almost.
Oh, bless you. He is 6'5", and I'm 5'7" and shrinking. So I don't know if that's stress or age, but I had my son Herb pretty young. So I was always the young mum at school. I used to take him to his primary school and they used to think I was the nanny, not his mum. But I used to be able to win all the sort of egg and that we have with egg and spoon race. Do you remember those? And things like that at the summer fete. So, I think there's definitely positives to being a younger mum. And obviously I've got my daughter as well, who, bless her, she's going to be 18 during lockdown. So she's trying to work out what she can do with 6 people now in her garden.
Who's the 6? Who is the 6? Because does she even invite you? You know?
Well, I'd have to be here. But she can't send me out. I've got nowhere to go. But I don't know. It's just that's the way I chose to do it. So having children younger, and it's, obviously I've muddled my way through. There's no rule book of how you're supposed to have children and look after them, especially when I was 22, 23. So, I didn't know many people who had children then, apart from my mum. So we muddled through. I didn't drop them or poison them. And now they're both nearly adults, and I'm so very proud of them.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that as well. I think if you're going, I'm 41 and I don't have mine yet. So mine will be coming in the next year or 2.
Oh, how exciting!
God bless, inshallah. And I think that if I didn't do it late, I would much prefer to do it very early, because those sort of doing it in the middle sort of takes up a big block of who you are, whereas you're sort of out the other side now.
I am. I'm completely out the other side. I have friends who are still having babies now, and I literally just I don't know where I'd find the energy from. But then there's never a right time to have children. I think you've just got to bite the bullet, as it were, and just get on with it.
Yeah. And how was it having kids and being like, were you traveling to many gigs and all back in those days and going to many of the raves and stuff, or what was it?
Obviously, when I found out I was pregnant, I was running a nightclub in London at the Hanover Ground, which no longer is there. It's a Halifax Bank now, but it was in Hanover Square. I don't know if you ever attended it, actually.
What was it called?
The night was called Malibu Stacy, and the nightclub was called Hanover Grand in Hanover Square. Anyway, it was really popular. So I was running that and found out I was pregnant. So I actually found out I was pregnant when I went to the handover of Hong Kong.
No way.
Yeah, in 1997. And I found out I was pregnant literally there.
That's amazing.
So quite crazy time. So it was really hedonistic, that period of my life. And then maybe it was a blessing falling pregnant because, you know, I managed to have 9 months of a calm life, but still working. Like, I literally worked up to the day I had him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is what it is. You just sort of muddle through, don't you?
I remember actually Malibu's Tasty. I remember seeing the flyers and sort of advertisements for it in some of the dance music magazines and all back in the day.
Yeah,
and
it was very popular.
What was that TV program called? EDM or something? Remember the old one used to be on late at night and you would go through the clubs?
Yeah, I can't remember.
BPM. Used to be called BPM. Used to be like a TV show called BPM. But it's really hear this. I was supposed to go to the handover of Hong Kong.
Oh, really?
I was still at school and there was a marketing competition, and if I won it, I was going to go to it. But of course, I was a very early raver. Actually, I was raving all through my school years.
Right.
And but actually, I did my presentation the night before it was due in, and it was based out of all of the UK because I'm from Northern Ireland, which is UK. Yeah. And I ended up coming second. And there was another team from Northern Ireland who won it, but there was 4 like stew balls who won it, and I just did it on my own the night before and came second. So that's
pretty good going.
My prize was to go to Lloyd's of London and collect computers for my school. That was but it wasn't quite as good as going to the handover. So maybe if I had sat in for one weekend prior to doing my coursework, I might have met you there.
Oh, but it was pretty impressive. I remember the hotel room I was in overlooking Kowloon Bay and all the fireworks. So obviously, the Chinese can do absolutely incredible firework displays. So
absolutely.
I remember just looking at it, and the Chinese army were marching in their very regimented way that they march, and covering all the post box and telephone boxes that were bright red, like we had in London.
Way.
Yeah, and they were covering them with sacks.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, so it was a pretty special time to be there. We were doing a party, so yeah, but then I found out I was pregnant, so
wow,
all change.
Yeah, but what an occasion to attend.
I know, I've still got the newspaper from it, actually.
Yeah, every time I see something around it, because it was 1999, and I remember
it was 97, actually.
Or 97, sorry.
Yeah.
And we were going to be part of the delegation with Prince Charles and that, some other prize winners or whatever. But
it would have been an amazing prize for you.
Especially for me, like I had never been out of the I was never like probably out of Europe at that stage, but I definitely was nowhere without my family.
It was incredibly hot, like the humidity. I remember just stepping out and it was just, you were wet from the humidity.
Yeah.
Because it was June or something, or May or June around then. So
like a Miami type of heat, is it?
Worse. It was probably the worst humidity I've ever experienced. Couldn't style your hair and then go out. It was just forgotten.
That's a problem I have every day. Here, talking about Miami, have you been at the Winter Music Conference or anything over the past few years, or what's happening?
No, I haven't. I used to obviously go year in, year out and do lots of parties, and lots of the artists that I used to look after would perform. So yeah, it was a real regular thing that I used to attend when I was an agent. But no, the last time I went to Miami was 3-4 years ago. I went on a little road trip with some girlfriends, and we ended up in Miami. We went Barbados and then Trinidad, and then we went to Miami, and it was just a holiday. But it was nice to go back. It's really nice there. But again, it just seems another lifetime ago, the Winter Music Conference. It was, I should imagine if I was to go now, I'm not even sure if it still is on actually, but it would be very different to what we probably experienced nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah, but what exists today is sort of what you planted, because I remember whenever a lot of it's probably been suppressed now by like Ultra or one of those.
Yes.
It's actually become its own event in its own way.
The Ultra guys are lovely there as well. Really, really nice guys.
Are they?
Yeah, they're really nice. But yeah, no, I haven't attended for a long time.
What do you feel? And I mean, even coming through that, you look at Ibiza and you compare it to Miami in the recent years or whatever. What do you see as the biggest difference between those two sort of dance scenes?
Between Miami and Ibiza?
And also America and Europe, like, as well.
Wow, that's a big question. So Miami, I used to just really attend for the Winter Music Conference. Any of my artists that I did used to look after would have US agents anyway, so I would never really go touring with them in America. I would just kind of leave that to the US agents, different time zones, all that kind of thing. So I would only really experience American clubbing in Miami for a week or so at a time, or I'd fly into New York or something like that. So I can't really comment hugely on the US scene versus Europe, because I know Europe so much better. And obviously, comparing Ibiza, I've been going there since I went with my mum when I was like 11.
What year was that?
Oh, God. So I went with my nan and my mum, because her friend owned an apartment. I must have been 11 or 13 or something like that. So I'm 45 now. So
Wow.
a long time ago. 22 years ago.
Wow.
No, yeah, 32 years ago.
Was it 87 by any chance?
God knows. So then I went back to Ibiza. It was my first girls' holiday with some school friends. And that we went to Amnesia, and it didn't have a roof, and Privilege was Coup then, or vice versa. And lots of the clubs didn't have roofs on. So I was probably about 18 when I went with the girlfriends. And then in the end, when I was looking after all these artists and I was married to a DJ, we spent so much time in Ibiza, we ended up buying a house there. So we owned a house there for 10 years. So I've got really fond memories of Ibiza, and I think it's the epicenter of great nights out. What it is now is slightly probably more commercialized and not Vegas. I'd probably say, there's just a lot more money involved than when I used to go.
It's more packaged.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But it's still such a beautiful island, and there's so many amazing people there who work there and run those nightclubs and have beautiful restaurants, and I really hold Ibiza very close to my heart.
Same as me. I went in '87. Actually, same story as yourself.
Oh God, we crossed paths probably.
With my that's what I'm saying. I went with my family in '87, and I went as soon as I got money. So my first job as an accountant, as a trainee accountant. I moved to Dublin, and that summer I went there, and again I loved it. And actually, I just got a time hop on Facebook earlier today saying that 5 years ago, right now, I was in Ibiza for my own stag party with Tarek Batoni, our beautiful friend, and a few other lads. So it's such a special place. It's the island itself has got there's such a resonance of that island just by being on it, but it attracts the most wonderful people of all ages, and I'm always promoting the island, particularly the people who are older, because they're always saying, I'm too old for Ibiza. And I says, Ibiza is actually a more mature island than you think. I mean, there's a lot of young and beautiful people there, but the real characters are probably the people that's in their 60s, 70s, and 80s.
And there's so many beautiful parts and things to discover in Ibiza. So obviously this whole lockdown situation at the moment, I was talking to some friends and I was saying, I'd rather be self-isolating with a pool and a beach in Ibiza. So if the flights come available, I was tempted to get a villa for a month, and just because I don't own my house over there anymore, and just plodding up there for a month rather than in West London. And literally, I don't really care if the clubs are open or not, because I wouldn't even be attending the clubs. It's literally, like you're saying, the personalities, the vibe, the beautiful landscape, and just being there is just something quite healing about it.
Absolutely, that's the right word. It's it's cleansing almost. It sort of extracts whatever's gone on and leaves it in the land and sends you back home with sort of a smile in your face. And the sort of person I am, if I'm going, I'll always go to the clubs too. But I would love to have that discipline just to go down there for a week in the summer and maybe do a yoga retreat or something else which is more sort of holistic. But then again, you're in Ibiza and the clubs are awesome.
No, but I've done summers there before and actually not attended a nightclub at all.
In the summer?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and really enjoyed it. So you have like amazing dinners with people, and people come around to your villa, and you have big paella delivered to you, because you can get the restaurants to deliver the actual big dishes.
Yeah.
Paella. It's just a very social island. It's lovely.
So
time for it.
And what you have to explain that to me. You had no temptation at all to go to a club the entire summer?
Well, when you own a house there for, 10, 12 years, and I'd been attending every summer for the season prior to that before you don't actually necessarily have to go to a nightclub to enjoy Ibiza. And also, if you've got children, sometimes you'll go there and you'll just go, you know what, I'm actually not that bothered about attending a nightclub this.
I get it, actually. It's like living in the Temple Bar of Dublin. I mean, just because you live in the Temple Bar, you're going to be like, after the first month of living there, you're going to be like, nah, I'm just going to watch TV or chill out or hang out with some other people. Exactly. Yeah, I never actually thought about that.
So, yeah, there's plenty of other things to entertain you other than, even though it's fun to go to Pasha or wherever.
What's the scene like in the UK up until that? What's the latest sort of trends within sort of dance music there?
I'm not really in dance music anymore, to be honest. I kind of hung my dance music hat up quite a few years ago. So I'm in the festival world now. So it's more bands. Obviously, there is dance music involved because some of the festivals I work with are dance music orientated. But no, I've kind of shifted from a work perspective into more bands and brands. So I don't necessarily work day in, day out with the DJs so much anymore. So I can't really comment on. I do know one thing because I signed up to be on the board of Saving Our Venues in London. So there's a nighttime board that was set up in London to try and campaign to try and save some of the nighttime industry venues which are being shut down and bought and turned into flats. So I do know that people are probably struggling, but then there's some amazing new spaces opening up in London as well. So, but I can't really comment on the dance scene because I'm not so much involved with it anymore.
It's interesting that it's not just a London issue; it's an issue around the world. I travel a lot, and a lot of
your Instagram keeps me very entertained. Yeah, I become very jealous.
It's actually I've nearly been 3 months now in Sweden, and it's the longest I've been in any country since probably 12 years ago, since I was in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I'm loving it. I know I'm not even itchy at all to go somewhere. So, but I was going to say, the scene is changing so much. Like how people sort of consume music and entertainment and that is different from. I mean, what happened with our generation is we went into the clubs, and before that they went into like the sort of outdoor raves and the barns and things like that. And now people
the illegal raves.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then that was sort of pushed into clubs, and now it's sort of being pushed into. And I think it'll increasingly become so now, especially with this pandemic, that people are going to start consuming more and more entertainment, if you call it, on a wider scale from at a more individual rate where they're connected digitally. And maybe this will lead to more people, you putting on goggles and stuff and watching stuff through that and getting an all immersive situation where they're sort of just dancing in the living room. And
I don't think you can beat that live experience though. So obviously I do work with DJs, and that you can't beat actually going and standing in a crowd and looking at that DJ and experiencing the vibe from the crowd there, even though the online and the digital is fulfilling a need at the moment, because obviously everyone's hasn't got a choice really, that they've all got to stay inside. But you can't beat that vibe of standing with, I don't know, 20,000 people or whatever, experiencing the artist, whether it be a DJ or a band or whatever on the stage. You can't beat live.
For me, the more people, the better. Like I would rather be at Old Trafford than be on my sofa when it comes to watching, football, and I would rather be at Creamfields than be watching it on YouTube.
Exactly.
But that's, I think, when you look at the next generation who are so used, they're even just watching people play computer games on YouTube.
I know. I was just having a discussion with my daughter about Twitch.
Yeah.
It's definitely huge. But I'm sure we were into things that our parents weren't into, etc. And it's just a generational thing.
Yeah.
That, we've got to embrace everything, really.
Otherwise and
we'll become very
that's the way I see it too. You just have to go with it, and
exactly.
And like, I mean, I told everyone last summer to sign up for TikTok, and they all were like, "No way, what's that? Some Chinese social media?" And I'm like, "Man, everyone each to their own. I mean, these kids are jumping around, doing moves and stuff, and that's their thing. They're doing no harm."
I downloaded TikTok last year and literally had it on my phone for about 3 weeks. I just couldn't get my head around it and deleted it. And now everyone's got it. And I was like, oh no, I've missed the craze.
I'm recording this podcast through Anchor. And if you're considering doing a podcast and you haven't heard about Anchor, then let me tell you, it's the easiest way to do a podcast. So let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute the podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many other platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. Definitely check it out. Download the app now from the store. No, it's only building up.
But I just couldn't understand why people were like filming themselves jumping off a cupboard or something. It was just like very odd.
I'm not gonna contribute because it's not my personality to do that stuff. But I appreciate that others are just different, and I'm not the guy. I'm not gonna be a TikTok superstar tomorrow. I can promise you that.
Stick with your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But so you do bands and stuff. What's happening with Glastonbury now? Or what do you see? What do you see over the next 5 years with that sort of large scale sort of event?
Glastonbury or with just large events generally?
Glastonbury in particular, but large scale and yeah.
I don't work with Glastonbury, so I just purely go. I go every year to Glastonbury as a punter and always have so much fun. I've worked at it a few times when I worked with Radio 1 on a few occasions, but I do enjoy just going there with no responsibilities whatsoever. It's just such an incredible festival. There's just so many different areas. It's like a little pop-up city. And everyone is just so lovely. And it's just a completely different vibe to many other festivals that I work with. And I work with loads of festivals. So it's pretty exceptional. I think they'll probably carry on doing exactly what they do, and they do it well. You know, there's no one who can beat them really on that front. They're in a little lane of their own, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the best in the world, isn't it? It's the biggest and the best.
And I've worked with amazing festivals, but Glastonbury, you know, also with the heritage there as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was big into dance music, I used to be able to get free tickets to Glastonbury, and I always refused them. But now that I'm a bit older, I can't. Now that I sort of do want to go, every year I want to go. The last time I wanted to go, it just was off for a year.
Oh,
and this year, and this year that I really want to go, everything's off. So it's like, okay, my Glastonbury days are not looking good, but I will get there sometime.
Silly, you can definitely go next year.
Hopefully, I would love to go.
It's an incredible festival, very special.
But here, let me say this: your bio is ridiculous.
Really?
It's ridiculous.
I thought you were going to fall asleep when you read it. I was like, oh no, do I just send this? It might be a little bit easier than me trying to write something.
It's ridiculous. Like your CV is out of control.
No, thank you for saying it. Apparently you're supposed to keep it to 2 pages, but that's not possible.
It's not possible. I mean, even the brands that you've worked with is impressive.
I work with some amazing brands and have done over the years, and they're all lovely. And it's exciting to work with them in a music space so that they can, you know, have that voice and connect with the particular audience, and we're part of that for them. So it's really, really nice to see it come to life for them.
And I'm all for it. See, I love seeing like cross-pollination of skills and sort of specialisms. Like when you take a brand like Heineken and put it into the Champions League, or you know, Sony, like that, they bring more to it. They bring an extra dimension and a level of professionalism with them.
Well, these brands these days, this is just my opinion, but you know, that they want to be involved with audiences, but just not look like a dad at a disco or come along and just badge something for the sake of it. You know, they really want to integrate and not look like it's staged or slightly false, that they're trying to get their brand messaging mixed with an audience that may not know them, or they want to retain that audience and not lose out to a competitor. So, you know, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it from a brand and from my line of work, where we really try to integrate it in a natural and holistic way that doesn't look too staged.
Yeah. And what's the secret sauce to that?
Oh, there isn't. You know, we have brands come to us who are really clued up, know exactly what they want their messaging to be, know exactly what the sort of tone of voice they want to put out on the campaign. And then we have other brands who just say, look, we really want to work in this space, but we really want it to look natural and not be staged. So we'll help them with that. So there is no one rule, to be honest. It really does suit what the brand's trying to achieve. And also the festival director will have something to say about it. You know, everything we do, we have to submit to the guys that own the festivals, and if the festival director doesn't like the look or feel of something, it will get pushed back. You know, they don't just sit there and say, yeah, everyone come.
And how regularly would they sort of reject something?
Well, if they don't believe in the policy of what the brand's trying to achieve or what the brand does, but it's more aesthetics, and they want the festival to still have its own personality and not just be overrun by loads of branding that doesn't suit the festival aesthetics, etc. So, you know, a lot of hard work goes into it from the brands and the festival directors. So it's a lot of work gone into it.
Yeah. Whenever you're putting together festivals now, a lot of the things, and I'm all for it, there seems to be an element of making the festival more Instagrammable. Do you know what I mean? Like more visual.
The shareability of it.
Yeah,
from
more,
the punter's perspective.
Yeah, and more visual, and from a marketing perspective as well. Like having like lit up wings where people can stand in front of them, you know, in front of a logo or something. Is that something that you are involved in any way? Or
I think the generation, to be honest, just live and breathe telling their life through social media platforms anyway, mainly, and I think it would just happen anywhere, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that's particularly done. I think it's the audience like to share what they're doing.
Yeah. But do you not do anything that makes it? Do you never have that sort of discussion leading up to it? Like, we need to make this. It's not just about the sound and about the guys with the guitars. It's we need to make it look good.
We always try to make things look amazing, and obviously it wouldn't be passed to be on site if it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and that the punters would enjoy it and it's engaging. And also, you know, the brands are investing a lot of money, so they need to see something that looks good on their channels as well. So, you know, it's like anything. People aren't going to do an advertising campaign in any, you know, not just festivals, but in anything that doesn't please the eye.
Yeah, and I think who does it the best, actually, or who at least gets the greatest impact is Burning Man Festival.
Again, though, they're not allowed any commercial value added really there. It's all, you know, you have to buy things, don't you, with beans and water and a kiss and things like that. So, it's a lovely ethos, that festival.
But from a promotion of their own brand, like the fact that it's so visual and it's so shareable and it's so timeless as well, because the photos of somebody at Burning Man 2010 are as good as the photos of Burning Man 2017.
Yeah, it does look a beautiful festival. I must admit, I've never been. It's always just after the summer festivals that we've done in the UK, so I'm actually exhausted and don't want to see another festival site for a few months. But it does look amazing, absolutely amazing, and the production is incredible, which, to be honest, lots of festivals are now doing and have done for a while. But yeah, that is pretty exceptional, Burning Man.
Yeah, fair play. I respect it, and I love the ethos of it, as you said, and the types of people who go there.
Yeah.
So I think the new thing that you're sort of doing at the moment, which I love and I'm all for, is you're sort of kicking off a talent agency, which is aimed more directly for women and the promotion of the feminine.
Well, yes, we're helping some really talented ladies who all have a voice anyway, don't get me wrong, but we just thought it would be really nice to show some love and build a collective of 4 or 5 very talented women who we're just trying to help along the way. So they've all got their different genres and different strengths for their own CVs. And we're just helping them along the way with whether it be gigs or appearances or collaborations, etc. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's really exciting.
And if do you see, because like when we were coming up, it would have been, I remember maybe 3 or 4 different female DJs back in those days.
Yes.
Is the numbers massively increased now? And what would the percentage, or what would the ratio be, at least, would you say, now at the sort of top level?
It's still quite low, but which is why we're trying to, us girls have got to stick together. But there's definitely more women out there performing and DJing than there were when I first started out in this industry. But unfortunately, there's still not as many. But there's some absolutely incredible ladies that have broken through and doing very, very well. So that's brilliant news.
Yeah. And what's stopping women coming through? Is it just desire to get up behind a set of decks, or is it still like a systematic thing?
I don't know. To be honest, I've actually had this conversation with quite a few people in the past. I don't know. It's not for want of trying to book female artists either. I don't know. It's just, there's just not as many of them out there, which is why we're trying to assist with some ladies, giving them assistance to get onto some of the shows, and guidance and navigation through collaborations with brands, etc., etc. So I don't know. I'm not a performer. I'm always the back of house. So I don't know. I don't know why they're not coming through as much as they are. It's a shame, but we're trying our damnedest to try and rectify it and help them come along.
Yeah. And what's the name of the agency, just for people who are listening, or for women out there?
Talent Works Agency.
Talent Works Agency. So, and you've got social media and things that people can follow?
Yeah. It's all there.
Yeah. So I'll post it in the sort of comments of this podcast as well, so people can sort of follow along and see some of the great work you're doing, and hopefully even use you to book some women or whatever.
Well, it's the ladies who are brilliant. We're just, like I said, behind the scenes, so we're just facilitating it for them all. But yeah, they're doing amazing stuff, and it's really exciting for them.
Yeah. So there's such a short gap between you and your 18-year-old daughter, particularly energetically, and considering the youthfulness that you have, Vanessa. So
you want to try lockdown together for 9 weeks?
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
So I was going to ask you, like, what's different in her world now as an 18-year-old compared to what you had as a 18-year-old?
Oh gosh, I think I probably had a lot more freedom, but she's got the world at her fingertips, as it were, so she can see the world, whereas I kind of went out there and explored it. And there was that element of, I was naive. I just went out there, and now obviously I know how I lived my life and what I got up to. I'm quite a strict mum.
Yeah.
So obviously I don't keep a ball and chain in the house, but they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She's got a bit of a glint in her eye, and I know exactly. She doesn't even have to say anything, and I know exactly what's going through her head.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, she can't escape. She can't get too much past me. But the difference is, I think, the world is just there for them to see and talk to. We didn't even have mobile phones when I was her age.
That's the same. I was the first person in school to get a mobile phone, and my mother was freaking out because she thought that everyone would think I was a drug dealer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it the size of a brick?
It was the size of half a brick, because it wasn't exactly like a 1980s London mobile phone, but it was like 1990s Northern Ireland mobile phone.
Wow. Yeah. No, so the world is just there at their fingertips. And she's 18 now. Well, she's going to be 18 in July, so she's free to do kind of what she wants to do now. So my role is kind of done. I can just guidance from afar now.
Yeah, it's an interesting word that you use, that we had more freedom, but they have more sort of access.
Yeah.
And I sort of think I had the similar upbringing. I can't believe my parents let me do the things I did.
I know.
See, when I was 13, I came home and I said to my mother, "Can I go to Frankie's in Rafo?" I says, "Carl Cox, Pablo Gargano, and Ben Man, and someone else is playing. Can I go?" And she says, "Yeah, off you go, as long as you've got your own money." And I rocked up at the front door after the club, and the bouncer goes to me, "How old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 6." I says, "I'm 17." And no, it was over 18. So I says, "I'm 17." And he goes, "No, you're not. You're only 16. But, sort of nodded for me to go on in.
Right.
And I was chuffed because I thought, wow, he thinks I'm 16. This is awesome. and I think it was like £5, £5 to get in. And I went up to the door, and I actually, no way a 13-year-old would do it. I started giving him like counting out like 10p's and 20p's to pay for my way into the club. And I was thinking, yeah, this is a bit weird actually. This is something like a child would do. Because to me, money was money. I didn't have the sense to bring a £5 note with me and go, here you go, and slip in quickly.
Let me get my piggy bank out.
It was literally like that, man.
So no, my mum used to let me go, which I think many mums did. I'd go cycling on my bike with my friends, literally down country lanes, and we'd leave in the morning, and she'd say, "Come back before it gets dark." No mobile phone to check, see if everyone's safe, no cycling helmets, etc. And we used to go down these fields and country lanes, and no one would have heard us if we screamed. So I think it's everyone's slightly more sensitive these days, and I think it was much more freedom, but innocent freedom.
Yeah, but do you think that because the world has never been safer? Actually, this is irony. Is there's never been there's less crime, less deaths, less poverty. Like there's less of everything that was bad. Actually, it's just that there's more coverage of it and more access to negativity, and it actually digs so deep into our psyche that I think, like you, I think I'm going to be such a strict parent. Mm. I don't know if I'm going to be letting my kids go to a rave even when they're 33, never mind 13.
Unfortunately, when they're 18, you can't really stop that.
And that's the thing, yeah.
But yeah, it is. I think you just muddle your way through. But it's like you just said, it's very, very true on so many fronts at the moment. It's because we can see it more as opposed to it's reported more. It probably hasn't changed. It's just that people are, talking about it because of the social media and platforms that we can talk on. Will Smith said something about racism the other day. With the guy who got knelt on the neck the other day. He said, racism hasn't got worse. It's just being reported more or talked about more.
Yeah.
Or filmed more. That's what he said. So it's an interesting perspective.
And the thing is, I'm up for things like that being filmed and being caught so people can be brought to justice and people can actually see that this is not right. You can't judge somebody based on something like creed, color, race, religion. I mean, you have to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and let them show you otherwise. So I have a rule where every person I meet, I 100% trust them and I 100% respect them. I just give them that up front. And people always think it's a bit weird, but I'm like, I'm actually giving them the responsibility to prove me wrong. So it's actually on them now. So I trust you. Off you go. You've got it. You don't need to prove anything. And I respect you. Off you go. You don't need to prove anything. But if you show me that you're a dick, you're dead to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's no reason me being around you because you've got my trust and respect and you've abused it. So, I mean, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I always do that with every human being I meet, no matter what corner of the world I find myself. And
you've always been lovely to me.
Well, I think you're very easy to be lovely to.
Where did we meet? Brentford.
Do you know where we met? And it was such
a bar.
Was it that where it was the bar that Tarek had his leaving party?
Yeah, it was like some old fire station.
The fire station. Yeah. It was called the fire station.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I knew Tarek was leaving, and he was having this leaving party, and I thought, I love this boy. I'm going to fly over for his party, but it was like. I was traveling for like 12 hours for some reason because there were flights delayed and stuff, and I could be there for like an hour and a half, and then I had to leave and go back and get my last train and all this nonsense. And I was gutted because I remember meeting you and so many cool people, and I just wanted to hang out longer.
No, well, here we are. What's it? 12 years later, we're still here.
I think it was only like I don't even think it was that. I think it was only like 6 years ago.
Did he was it?
Yeah, because it was
it seems like 12 years ago.
Yeah, but he's such a good guy.
Yeah, I haven't seen him, to be honest, for a long time. He moved to Bali, didn't he?
Yeah, he's gone off the grid.
Fair enough. Each their own.
Here, fair play.
Yeah, exactly.
Never mind, fair play. Delighted for him.
Yeah.
And on that, I just want to say this. You are a good human being. That's how you come across to every human. I mean, you're such a warm person, and I really I'm your biggest supporter, and I've only just met you that time, and I really just think whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, because the world needs more Vanessa Fontaines.
Well, that's very, very lovely of you to say. Thank you. I've just been, to be honest, during this lockdown, I've become a lot happier and more energized from doing nothing and being still. It's quite nice to just step off that treadmill a little bit, and you get to realize who your true friends are, and it's good to just reevaluate and be still for a bit. So
I believe it. And the paradox of my life is that everyone thinks that I'm always doing so many things, but the reality is, like, my life is so calm, and I really have I have a lot of empty space in my life, actually, which is, time for me, and time to be, and time to just walk or go out with my wife for a stroll.
Very important, really important. And I don't think I've realised it for a long time. And it's, obviously this is horrendous, this pandemic, but there's a weird, twisted way where it's quite calming.
Yeah, people needed it. I think people have really got a chance to be forced to reevaluate what is actually important. Oh, beautiful.
Literally, who'd have thought? Vanessa green-fingered.
Vanessa, I bought a house. I bought a house last week up in the country, and we have got our own forest, our own island, our own trees.
Oh wow! I know where I'm coming after lockdown. Then
here, you're more than welcome. I mean, you're more than welcome to come and plant vegetables with us, or just hang out and do nothing.
Have a very good life.
Oh, it's going to be so good, and I'm so looking forward to getting our keys on Thursday.
Oh, that's amazing. That's something really positive and nice to come out of this lockdown.
That's awesome. It's awesome. And on that bombshell, I'm going to let you go back to your beautiful daughter in her last days of being under your control.
Oh, I know. I'm holding on for dear life.
What date is her birthday?
4th of July, American Independence.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll remember that, and I'll send you a message.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Here, God bless, darling.
And lovely chatting to you, and send my love to your wife.
I will indeed. Take care of yourself, and happy birthday to your daughter. Take care.